That's cool, Danielle never does that.
Special effects. Welcome to the Novi Community School District Board of Education meeting of November 3rd. Could we all please stop and stand and for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a feedback.
See if we got volume on that TV. How's that remote?
Justin, we're getting a lot of feedback here.
Oh, it's on.
What's going on?
No.
One of the TVs is up. Okay, let's try to move on. I need an approval of the agenda.
I would move to approve the agenda as presented, unless there's some change I don't know about. Okay, then I will make that motion.
Support. Moved by trustee Murphy, supported by trustee Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes 6-0. Okay, moving on. Other celebrations. Does any board member have anything they would like to mention to celebrate this week? The last 2 weeks? Anything we've been to? If not, I would like to say I made it to the middle school choir concerts. Both schools have had their choir and orchestra concerts. Phenomenal job. Kids learning early and doing a good job. The other thing I wanted to mention was we just kind of had a celebration with our maintenance crew and for all the hard work that they do in keeping their buildings and lands and facilities up to
A1.
A1, above A1 actually, but yeah. So we really appreciate them and the hard work that they do, and we wanted to celebrate a little bit with them. So if there's nothing else, let's move on. We have the consent agenda. If I could have a motion, these are typically things that do not need discussion.
Over here.
I move that we approve consent item A and B as presented.
I support.
Moved by trustee Mena, supported by trustee Hood. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next, we come to comments from the audience. And my eyes aren't as good as Danielle's, but comments from the audience. The board respectfully requests that any individual wishing to speak to the board provide their name, address, and any organization they represent. Keep their comments to the allotted time and refrain from directing comments to individual members of the board, district employees, or members of the audience.
Thank you. Let them know the time.
Yes.
Here, why don't you hand those to me and I can maybe
Okay.
take care, unless you want to do both.
You could have a piece of pizza now.
I was going to do both, but doesn't matter. So
Oh, there's 3.
we have 3.
Yep. 3?
Is that all we have? You fill out the green card and
Yep.
give it, once it's up here, we'll call your name when we're ready. So we'll keep the time to 3 minutes. And we have a few more that are going to trickle up here.
Okay, well, I will call Sherry, I think it's Kunkel? Did I pronounce that correctly? Conkus. Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Sherry Conkus, 22278 Cascade Drive. I'm a longtime Novi resident with 3 wonderful children that were educated in the Novi school system. I'm here today to ask the school board, via my email last week, to consider a resolution that would allow information to be sent home to families about secure gun storage. Firearms are the leading cause of death now for children and teens, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics. Gun sales surged during that pandemic, we're all aware of that, and now almost 5 million children are living at home with loaded and unlocked guns. If children have access to unsecured guns, as we've seen at Oxford High, they can end up being brought to school. It's our job as adults to secure these firearms properly. Many new gun owners may not have received adequate information or training on how to safely secure firearms. School can be a crucial conduit for life-saving information on how to store guns safely, and how to ask if guns are secured in a friend's home before children visit. So what can we do? We can make sure that families know how to store firearms securely in their homes. The district can help ensure parents and caregivers know how to be smart. S, secure guns in your home and vehicles. M, model responsible behavior around guns. A, ask for the presence of unsecured guns in other homes. R, recognize the role of guns in suicide. And T, tell peers to be smart. Many school districts have already done this. Birmingham School District just sent home secure gun storage information in their start of school packets. Berkeley schools included it in their October 21st Safe Schools communication. And 11 nearby school districts have passed safe firearm storage resolutions, including Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, Grosse Pointe, Oxford, Plymouth Canton, Roseville Community Schools, Royal Oak Schools, Southfield, Troy, Walled Lake, and West Bloomfield. I've also reached out to Superintendent Minka and plan to meet with him next week to discuss the Be Smart program. There's many ways to reach out to parents. I hope we can find something that works effectively in Novi. I know there's so much on your plate already, but I urge you to please consider passing a secure firearms storage resolution. Gun violence is impacting the health and well-being of children. Informing school families about the need to properly secure firearms is a proactive step we can take at little cost. Better informed parents that secure their firearms properly means safer children, safer schools, and a safer Novi. Thank you for all you do to help our children learn safely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next we have, I hope I'm going to say this correctly, Vinod Kukunor.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Vinod Kokunor. I live in Island Lake of Novi, 24374 Terra Del Mar Drive, Novi, Michigan. My son is in the senior high, and my elder one also went through the Novi High School. We are very proud of Novi High School. We are very proud of Novi City, and it's very safe to live for the kids and all of us. But recently, we are hearing a lot of threats in terms of the school children's safety, and we are concerned as a parents. So obviously, I wanted to see how and what kind of control measures are put in place to take care of that. And I tried to reach out to superintendent to even seek kind of a recommendation. So these threats are happening continuously. It's not limited to Novi, it's happening other cities as well. But two things, right? Children's safety is the priority for every parent, that's number one. And Novi reputation is also very stake because of anything go wrong, even if there is a 0.001% chance. Hopefully we should not take that chance to have that threat to become a real. That's why I'm here, to see what kind of control measures have we put in place. And I have some recommendation because asking concerns is one. As a parent also, I have some recommendations that I wanted to give it to the board members if they want to consider. So high being Novi High School means they are teenagers, they do what they want. So I'm seriously thinking kind of a mental, right now the whole world, this depression, mental health issues are going on. Kind of a mental health class is a better way to train or make the awareness to bring up their mind to think like brothers and sisters, work together, right, collectively. That's number one recommendation. Number two, I understand in restrooms, we cannot put the cameras. But if there is a way to track it and some or the other means, because now technology is very advanced. Who is going to the restroom, you can collect the data and very specific timing to that. And if things have happened, you can track it and trace it. That's second way of looking at it. And third way of looking at it is, in India, it's very popular. It's becoming popular throughout the world. Yoga or the meditation classes will also give a mental peace and inner peace to the brain. Maybe we should consider to have that 10-15 minute session in some hall to all the kids, so collectively they can become friends. Secondly, it will also help everyone how we should behave. So this is my request to board. Hopefully you'll consider some of these recommendations, or maybe you have some other recommendations. I really wanted to hear about it. Thank you very much. Again, once again, thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Jason Mitchner.
Good evening, Board. Jason Mishner, Novi resident. Couple of things. First, as a Deerfield parent, I just wanted to welcome our new Deerfield teacher, Miss, I hope I say this right, Miss Bajian, to Deerfield. So hopefully she's here tonight. We'll get to meet her, but that was really good news to see. I want to echo some of the parents. It would be good to know some of the procedures that the school district has for handling of the kind of events that have transpired the last couple of weeks, and also maybe how we handle fire drills and other things like that, whether they're planned or inadvertent. I'd also like to know, I see that the board is up for approving on agenda item E, the new schedule. I was wondering if there could be some clarification given as well, if you are also going to approve the open committee meetings versus the closed committee meetings. That was on the schedule in October 20th, but I don't see it up for approval tonight, so I was just wondering if there was any feedback on that. And then finally, I was wondering if we could get during the superintendent's report or any board comments, any updates on what activities you've been taking, things you've been thinking of to close the gap, especially for our Black Novi students, the academic gap that was reviewed at the last boarding meeting. Just to hear some progress, that updated status would be great. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason.
And next, we have Susan Kosurski. I'm not sure I pronounced that right, so I apologize. If I did not, you can correct me when you approach.
It's okay. Hi, my name is Dr. Susan Koseski. I live at 25226 Sullivan Lane. And I'm a parent of a 7th grade student and a 9th grade student in our district. I'm also a school psychologist working for Oakland Schools. I'm prepared trained, which is comprehensive school safety planning and health crisis intervention, mental health crisis intervention, prevention, and recovery. I was one of many people who responded in the days and weeks and months after the school shooting in Oxford High School on November 30th, providing crisis intervention and recovery services. I'm here tonight to ask the superintendent and the board to consider demonstrating your solidarity and support for the Oxford School District and the Oxford community by participating in the Light Up Oxford with Love. This event will take place on the 1-year anniversary on November 30th, which is fast approaching, at 7 p.m., with displaying luminaries that simultaneously light homes and streets in Oxford and surrounding communities, including ours and Oakland County. We're all connected. We are connected as parents who try to comprehend the unimaginable loss of a child in this horrific event, from our students who were friends of victims or those who are friends with students trying to take steps forward in the recovery journey, those who are in our community who have relatives or friends who live or work in that community, as well as our colleagues as an educator who work in the district. Healing does take place with community connections, with empathy and understanding, and I'd like us to demonstrate that. So what I'm asking for is the board to demonstrate their solidarity by committing to this event, by perhaps endorsing it, advertising the event on social media, on district newsletters, with providing information on two things: either how parents can voluntarily participate by purchasing the luminaries themselves, or Novi purchasing the materials and providing information about those items that can be distributed to our community. I'm going to take that on in my own neighborhood, but I think it would demonstrate a lot if we joined in this effort. I'm glad to work with anyone from your administration on making this happen. Feel free to contact me, and I'd be glad to discuss further, as timing is really critical. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I can see how this is really hard to read. Everybody's handwriting is very different on these, just so you know. Padmarocha Romani. How did I do?
Leka. Padmaleka Romani.
Padmaleka with an
Yeah.
L. So sorry.
That's okay, not a big deal.
Thank
We can butcher names, it's okay. I'm here today as a parent. I may break down a little bit because this is very, very something that every parent as a mom is going through. And I'm talking about, I think the Indian community is not very good at raising their voices sometimes. And I'm here to tell you that we as a community, as a Novi community, feel really threatened, that we don't feel safe anymore. So kids are going to school in this district because it's one of the best schools in the country. You know, we have a lot of data which comes out which says, oh, this is such a great community to live in, a great community to go to school and come here. So what I'm here to ask is when we gloat in those situations and we say this is a great community to be in, what are you doing today after everything that has happened to show the rest of the world, like you have gloated before, that this is the best school district to be in? What are you doing to show and gloat that this is the safest community to live in? This is not acceptable where kids who are so young, I don't have young kids, but I have a middle school child, and I have a kid who is in high school. Don't you think these kids have gone through enough? I'm not here for a political debate because I know that can not take us anywhere. This is as a community, what are you doing? If Novi is the best district to study, let us make this to be the best, safest district to live in. What can we do? I'm asking you, can you come together, come to some concrete ideas as to what you can do for us to feel safer, and then gloat and say, this is the best district that you can be because we did A, B, C, D, E. What are you going to do? Start with A. Give us some answers. So some things that I'm asking to myself as a parent, and I have a degree, you know, I am a doctor, and I'm asking myself the why. Are we doing something to understand the why of these kids? And the kid was caught. Did we understand the why? Because that is important, and then we can figure out how we can do something else for them. You know, everybody can start a yoga class, everybody can start meditation, that's all fluff because that's not new for us to know. But what should we do? Can we come up with an idea? The second is, what are the message are we sending to these kids? Obviously, this has become a joke. Because if you do not give a strong message and do something, then you can't.
Our time is up.
Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
so please give us some concrete ideas as to what you're doing differently and what can you do.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Dan Peck.
Good evening, Dan Peck. I've got 3 kids in Novi Woods, live on Wintergreen Circle. A little bit lighter this evening, just with this being our last board meeting before an election in which 2 of you will be replaced. I wanted to have my thanks out for Secretary Murphy and Treasurer Hood for their service, and they will be missed come next year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peck. We've got until December, though.
I know, we will be here through December. I love, thank you. Okay, sorry, I'm not supposed to interrupt. Here we go, Sujita Raman, sorry. I said that wrong too, Sujata.
Sujata.
Yep.
I would to echo Dr. Romani's Mr. Peck's comments and say yes, absolutely. Bobby, Kathy, you'll be very much missed on this board. Thank you for your years of service. Thank you for always putting our children first. You will be missed. I also do want to echo the comments that Dr. Romani made and talk about safety in just a slightly different way. And that is to say that the other piece of news that has come out in the recent weeks is about an incident involving a volunteer to one of our athletic teams and some inappropriate conduct by this individual in a different district. And I know that there's no reports of anything right now. I'm sure the administration is handling it and they have a good grasp on the situation. But what I want to bring up is the concept of safety, right, in a different context, and that is to say that we as a district, and you specifically as a board, have to be cognizant of the fact that we have to think about if, God forbid, there is some incident, there is some incident of a similar to the other district here in Novi involving the same individual. Can we be sure that our children would feel comfortable and feel safe to bring that complaint up, given the situation that we just endured, where the most recent complaint of this type in the district was met with zero consequences by this board? So I want to bring that up. I want to make sure that that is in the context of safety as a whole, that we're considering that too, that we make sure that we make this a safe place for students to be able to come forward when it comes to not only the types of situations that we're dealing with when it comes to shelter in place, but any situation in which they feel uncomfortable, unsafe at all. And that has to be by example. I've said it here before, I'm saying it again. This board needs to lead by example. It's not too late to do something about showing some kind of, consequence for a situation that, really wasn't fully dealt with. So I want to put that out on the table and ask that you consider all aspects of safety when it comes to our kids. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Betsy Beaudoin.
Good evening, Betsy Beaudoin. Seems that most people came here to talk about what happened at our schools the last week and a half, and that's part of what I want to talk about tonight as well. My family was impacted by the lockdown or shelter in place at the middle school, which I guess is different than a lockdown, but to us parents it felt exactly the same. But I wanted to, in addition to urging all of you to act, and I love this idea of the resolution on gun storage as a gun-owning family, I think that is a wonderful thing to emphasize to people. And most gun owners I know are not at all bothered if people suggest that perhaps they store their weapons in a safe way. But in addition to that, I wanted to thank our administration, our teachers, and our students for the way they handled themselves in light of all these threats. It was scary, and our parents too, honestly, because I feel like everybody tried really hard to stay calm, and that's really the best you can do. It was really scary to a lot of my friends that were in these lockdowns, as well as to my daughter and her friends, and I know everybody at the high school had a really rough time with it as well. But what brought me comfort was knowing that there was a plan in place and that it was being handled. And I know that there is always more we can do, but I did want to just take the opportunity to acknowledge that in a scary situation, I felt that the leadership with our new superintendent, as well as we have a lot of new principals and administration all through our district, and I feel like everybody really stepped up and seemed to know what they were doing at a critical time. I have spoken with Mr. Menka also about trying to get a student communication system set up for emergency alerts to go directly to our students at our high school to try to get them more information when there is a risk, so they have a good concept of what is actually happening and can respond appropriately. So I think that's something for the board and Superintendent Menka to consider as well. But would want to hit one more time just on the idea that gun storage resolution to me is a brilliant idea. And I'd heard also that that's something that occasionally is included even with registration forms to say, like, we've been informed by the district that our guns should be locked up safely. And I think in addition to it creating a safer environment, it also limits the district's liability. So I would encourage you all to consider that as you move forward through this. Thank you.
Thank you.
That appears to be it.
The one thing I will address on this, and Mary Ann has addressed it in the past, that for those gun owners, if you go to the police station, you can request a trigger lock, free trigger lock. So, correct?
You took my board communication.
Yes, that's correct.
I wanted to make sure it was out there while everybody was still
Yeah,
there.
and usually when you purchase them, they give you a free lock also.
Yes. So, okay, so no more comments. We will move on to donations. And we'll turn to Mr. Monka.
Alrighty. We had the privilege of earning donations for our robotics team. The generous donations were provided to the amount totaling $5,000 from for the Robo Titans, Team 26-827, the High School Robotics 503 and 9279 Galaxy Glazers, and the Raging Robos. All of those donated amounts total $5,000, and we appreciate the generous donation, and the recommendation is that the board accept the donation as presented.
Can I have a motion? Mrs. Smith?
I move that the Novi Community Schools Board of Education accept the donations from MathWorks, Magna, Eaton, and Magna as presented. Oh, with appreciation, thanks.
Support. Oh, go ahead, you move to Mary.
Motion by trustee Hood, supported by trustee Roney. Any comments?
I
Mr.
think the
Smith?
dollar amounts correctly should be reflected as 5,500.
Does add up to that?
Like, you know, like my investment portfolios, give me 5,500, I'll make it 5,000 for you.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate that.
That is correct.
That is correct.
It's-
All right.
It's just a typo.
Thank you, trustee Smith. Any other comments? I would
That's
like,
even better.
See?
I would like to thank the companies, and this is not just for the high school robotics, those are also middle school robotics teams. And so we are getting donations at all levels, and because we have multiple teams pretty much at all levels.
Like the names of the teams, that they have them on here. Robo Titans, those weird peeps, and Galaxy Glazers, and Raging Robos. So, very creative names, and I like that they're all getting some support. That's very
You get some very creative names when you get to those younger levels too. So. But, okay, no other comments? We'll call to question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. This brings us to our action items. First action item is Personnel Report A. Mr. Manka.
Very excited tonight to have the opportunity to provide you with some additional staff that are going to be joining our team. And so I'll turn it over to Dr. Carino.
Thank you. Today we have 9 people to bring in front of you to recommend for hire. So we'll start with Peggy Bajan, who is recommended for 3rd grade at Deerfield. Jennifer Borden is being recommended for 3rd grade at Orchard Hills. Surprisingly enough, we have another Borden, but they are only distantly related, I believe, through their husbands. So Linda Borden will also be joining Orchard Hills as a literacy specialist. Abby Ray is being recommended at the middle school for speech and language pathology. Kimberly Williams is being recommended for the middle school science teacher position. Manisha is being recommended for Village Oaks as a special education para. Catherine Molnar is being recommended as a special education paraprofessional for the middle school. Gina Murphy is being recommended for the Novi Virtual Administrative Assistant position. And Mary Wara is being recommended for the high school bookkeeper. We also have one resignation. Someone who I worked with very closely at Parkview as the care leader, Debbie Haynes, will be retiring effective December 23rd.
Can I have a motion? Mr. Romero.
Yeah, I move that we accept personnel recommendation as presented.
Support.
Motion by trustee Bennett, supported by trustee Roney. Any comments, questions?
If this motion is approved, can we ask those in the audience that are here to introduce themselves?
Absolutely.
Yes, we will.
Perfect.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
I will support it in that case.
Okay, no other questions?
Just,
Call the question. do you have something?
No, go for it.
Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Welcome, and
Dr. Carino, I don't know if you want to.
At least make her stand up.
We have one with us tonight. I just wanted to make sure. So we have Abby Ray, who is the speech and language pathologist. So come on up to the podium. You can introduce yourself. Yeah, right under there. Welcome officially.
Thank you. What do you want me to say? I'm Abby Ray. I'm a speech language pathologist. I'm really excited to start here. I live in Commerce Township, so it'll be a nice quick drive. I'm really excited about that. And yeah, my husband and I just recently moved here. He's in dental school right now, so I'm excited.
Is he with you tonight?
Yeah, he's over there. Yeah.
you can stand up.
That's Carter.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you. Welcome aboard. Next, we will go to.
Hey, wait,
Yes,
you want to
sir.
introduce Mary?
Is Mary here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So Mary Wara is our new high school bookkeeper.
Hi.
Welcome.
My name is Mary Wara, and I accepted the position at the high school for the bookkeeper. I have 3 kids that went to Novi, two twins at the high school, and an alumni, Bassem Wara, and he's at MSU right now. And I'm so happy and thrilled to join the staff of Novi High School. Thank you.
When I saw the name, I wondered if Bassem was your son.
Yeah, he was on your team.
Yeah.
Used to be at the same bus stop as our kids.
Great young
That's
man.
sad. You're getting older.
And now he's applying to medical school, so.
Oh, God.
Okay. Any others here that we missed? Okay. Next, we have Personnel Report B. Mr. Manka.
This is an exciting moment. When I started, obviously, there was a big need to fill cabinet positions. Obviously, as we were getting to know Mr. McIntyre, he had some different opportunities that he pursued, and so the need became even greater in order to fill our Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations. I will say that we had quite an extensive search process. We went through multiple rounds of interviews. There are currently, I believe, 18 districts across the state of Michigan that have had postings out there for months for this position. This is a very difficult position to fill. We had a candidate that we, in one of the early rounds that we've been through, that we thought would be a great fit. It ended up being that she was offered a different compensation package at the district where she was coming from, and so that fell through. We had quite a lot of people on the interview team, including our operations staff, maintenance teachers, support staff, people from the business department. And we decided that after the second time of trying to really find this position, we were looking at different avenues. We had to come up with a different plan. I was able to reach out to some of my colleagues in the field, and they said, you have to talk to this individual. He's incredible. He's a person that relates very well to the staff, and he's done the job. And so he's done it in Wayne Westland, he's done it in Plymouth Canton, he's currently in Plymouth Canton as the #2 CFO of an 18,000 student district. He knows the accounting world, but he also knows how to talk to human beings. And that is a very rare thing sometimes in this role. And so one of the things that we did is we met with this individual and we said, okay, let's bring this person to the full group. And unanimously, and I say unanimously with an enthusiastic unanimously, the interview panel of 13 individuals that it represent a diverse cross-section of the people that work with this position, said that they are more than excited to work with the individual that we're presenting to you tonight. I'm sure he'll have an opportunity to present himself to you and tell a little bit of his story. But the Novi Community Schools District Administration is recommending that the board approve Mr. Devin Kling as the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations.
Thank you, Mr. Monica. Do I have a motion? Mrs. Hood.
Yeah, I move that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve Devin Kling as the Assistant Superintendent of Business and Operations.
Support.
Moved by trustee Hood, supported by trustee Murphy. Do we have any questions? Not, I will call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. And I do believe we have Mr. Kling here.
Mr. Kling is here.
Wow, thank you for that warm introduction. I really appreciate it. Members of the board, Superintendent Micah, and all the other Wildcats in the building tonight, I just want to take this opportunity to say how incredibly honored I am for this opportunity to work in such an amazing school district. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to bring up my wife Karen. She was against this part, but this is my wife Karen. She's my rock, she's my best friend, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. And we're a team. You get me, you get her. And I think I can speak for both of us at just how excited we are to be a part of the Wildcat community, and how excited I am to get to work, to do my part, and to support this district to keep it at the top. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
We're really glad we found you. Yeah, under the Plymouth Rock, right? Anyways, we're I know. Sorry, we're just really, I know the process was complicated and we kind of went back to the drawing board, but I think that the right person was found at the right time. So welcome aboard and yeah, welcome to a Wildcat world. It's another great day to be in Novi.
It is.
Leaving the Wildcat world to come to this one.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
But any other comments? Welcome aboard. We appreciate you stepping up and coming aboard and helping fill this role that we have a dire need for. And hopefully Mr. Manka, Dr. Carino, and Mr. Giannini will be as welcoming and work hand in hand with you to get things done in this community. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ben would never say this, but go green.
Yeah.
I would now.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. The next action item is the HS4 door access management system.
On Thursday, July 7th, the Novi Community School District Board of Education awarded the district-wide card access system to LaForge. The intent of the pricing was to apply to the interiors of the district buildings. This is something that I think is worthy of discussing, and I'll discuss a little bit in my superintendent's report. There's been some extensive conversation. Essentially, what this system will do is it will allow the district to have control over who is coming into every single door in the district. It will be monitored and have the ability for us to turn off access without allowing extra keys to be out there. It's going to further secure our building at a very high level. This is an expensive system, and so to one of our community members that stated, there's very few school districts that have invested in this type of technology. It's kind of cutting edge in terms of being able to make sure that we can control access to every single space that our district has. The award recommendation that you saw for information and discussion at the last board meeting was for $1,620,564. This came back on the October 20 regular meeting, and it comes back tonight for action.
Thank you, Mr. Micah. Do I have a motion? Mrs. Murphy?
Do you want to?
Go ahead.
Okay. I would recommend that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve the contract amendment as presented.
Support.
Moved by trustee Murphy, supported by trustee Mena. Do you have any additional questions? I know we have talked about this a couple of times. Mr. Mena?
No question, just comment. I mean, this is it's actually a good night for a community member to come up and ask, hey, what are we doing security-wise? I think this would be a good A to start. This is, we did get a demo on this security system. Not something that we generally like to do publicly. But let me tell you, this is $1.6 million investment. And that's just this piece. There's more to come. and I was very impressed with the system. So, no, if you're questioning on what it is that we're doing security-wise, here's A. This is a big, big investment here by this district and obviously you guys, the community. But again, what kind of a dollar amount can we place on keeping your kids safe? So this is us telling you that we take this seriously. So I will be supporting this tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Renner. Any other comments? Mrs. Murphy?
Maybe a question for you then, because we have a information discussion on the same system for maintenance, transportation, and the ESB. Are we gonna see more of those, or will then most of our buildings be covered?
So what you're approving in this particular resolution is for the Early Childhood Center.
Okay.
As well as the high school.
Okay.
And so those are the first two buildings, and part of the reason why we're starting with those is because we're not gonna be able, it's an extensive installation, and so we would not be able to perform the entirety of the installation in the summertime. So we're starting here, and they're actually gonna be in the bid package, working evenings, weekends to be able to do these installs, so it'll be kind of a rolling installation. The information and discussion tonight, you'll be talking about maintenance, transportation, ESB, and you will have subsequent ones coming for elementary schools, middle school, Meadows.
Okay.
And those will be rolling out. Most of the installations will be able to be completed in the summertime.
Okay.
But the Meadows building, obviously, it will be incorporated into the build that's being done as we speak right now.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? You mentioned we're doing a rolling install like at the high school because we can't get it all done at one time. Does that mean that these will be activated right off those locks that are in will be activated right off the bat, and there'll be multiple ways of getting through?
So I can get an affirmative answer on that, but my understanding and sitting in the meetings that I've sat in is that they will not be activated until the system on that site is ready to go. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So they basically will have the same access until then?
Correct, yep.
Okay, because, yeah, we did take a very close look at this, and they were even gonna let me tear it apart.
They were.
I just didn't have any tools on me to dig into it. Very well designed and thought out system, and it is cutting edge, so I think we're glad to have it. So we will call to question.
And if I can add too, we do have a security consultant that we've been working with, and this was approved by them as well. This isn't something that we as a board just got together and said, hey, this looks kind of cool. We certainly hired a consultant that was an expert in this area to help us pick the best available system.
Okay. No further questions. I will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Okay, now it brings us to the stormwater resolution. Mr. Minka.
The Michigan Department of Environmental Quality requires that the Novi Community School District and other school districts across the state obtain permits and have stormwater management plans for the purpose of protecting the water quality, not just in the city, but across the state. As a part of our policy 7470, in order to secure a stormwater control permit, it requires the board to take an effective resolution. So a part of the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System is the renewal application to keep our district in good standing with our stormwater management practices. The stormwater resolution is being presented to the board tonight for approval.
Can I have a resolution? Recommendation.
A recommendation? I can do that. I will recommend that the Novi Community School District Board of Education, in the best interest of the district, adopt a stormwater board resolution so that the district meets the requirements of the permit application.
Support.
Motion by trustee Murphy, supported by trustee Roney. Any questions regarding this?
I just have one. How often do we have to renew this? I know that I've been on.
I believe that it's every 4 years.
4 years.
Yep.
Okay.
The last time that we did the renewal was 2018.
Okay. Just wondered about that. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? We'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Next, we have the draft board meeting schedule. Draft?
Yeah, so it's, well, it's a draft right now, so hopefully it will become the meeting schedule. So before you tonight is a board meeting schedule that kind of continues our current schedule for the remainder of this calendar year and moves into next year. The purpose of this was through the board workshop discussion, and as was mentioned during public comment, we, as a board, you decided to shift the committee structure slightly. We're moving to committee of the whole structure where we will have open meetings posted. Committee of the whole essentially means that the committee meetings are similar to the way they've been run, with maybe the exception and caveat that all 7 board members could theoretically attend even if they're not on the committee themselves. So those committee of the wholes will be documented and posted. The reason why they're not being approved in this particular resolution is because oftentimes committee meetings need a little bit more flexibility. So when the board takes an action on a calendar, it needs to take an action affirmatively to change the calendar. And so that creates some barriers with committee meetings that are a little bit more flexible. What I will say is that all committees of the whole will be posted to the public in all of our normal ways so that the community will know when those meetings will occur. And the board will also be given knowledge of when the committee chairs establish their administrative board committees, which will meet on opposite months of the committees of the whole. So that schedule will be produced. You've seen the preliminary one at our work session, but we'll have that, and then we'll be posting those committee of the whole meetings based on the committee chair's recommendations. As it relates to the board meeting schedule that you're looking at here, we did take into account some of the conversation that we had at our work session and some of the requests that were made by board members for different meeting times. Notably in August, there is a Wednesday board meeting that is early at 5 o'clock, and part of that is to accommodate some of our fall sports seasons that are starting up in that time already.
Thank you, Mr. Micah. Can I have a recommendation? Mr. Mena.
Yeah, I move that we approve the 2022-2023 board meeting schedule as presented.
Support. Moved by trustee Mena, supported by trustee Smith. Any questions regarding this calendar, or?
Nope.
Talked about it plenty of times, I do believe, so. With no questions, we will call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. This brings us to our information and discussion section.
One more.
One more action item.
True.
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
missed it. Was already crossed it off. This brings us to one more action item, I'm sorry. True Policy Program, Mr. Mink.
Oh, sure. Mr. Ray Davis and Ms. Jennifer Starlin of True Law Firm came to our October 3rd Governance and Policy Committee to review and discuss with the committee Trune's bylaws, policies, and administrative guidelines program. At the regular meeting of the board, those same policies and bylaws were provided to the entire board through the board meeting. I will say that we also, at a subsequent, we scheduled a special Governance and Policy Committee meeting to hear from other providers as the board was interested in taking a look at what other providers were out there for our policies. This resolution this evening does not change our current policies, so to be clear, our current policies stay in place. What this resolution is essentially saying is that we're going to move forward with the Trune implementation process. And so we will go through that process, which will take time. And then obviously with this board and also 2 new board members, when they, when the whole board is comfortable, there would be a replacement of our current policies with the Trune policies, and there's gonna be a process for that. But this particular resolution is to move forward with the implementation process as presented.
Thank you. Mr. Smith.
I recommend that the Novi Community School District Board of Education approve moving forward with the policy and administrative guidelines implementation process.
Support.
Motion by trustee Smith, supported by trustee Roney. Do we have any questions regarding this? Any comments?
I'll just make a quick comment, I mean, because I know we at one point moved to Les Albertson, and they were the only ones at that point in time that were doing it, besides Neola. I don't know how many years ago that was, I don't You guys probably have some recollection of that.
It was right when I started.
So 6 years?
About 6 years ago.
So around 6 years
Five,
ago?
6 years ago.
Right, and so, so this is like a kind of a revamp, because obviously we've had that policy system for a while, and I know that there've been some changes that we've had to make as a result of kind of, I don't want to say gaps, but, maybe some different things. So I assume one of the people that you met with was Celeste Galverson to talk with, the policy committee. I'm just asking.
We did reach out to them.
Okay.
Yep, we did reach out to them and offer them the opportunity to come.
Okay.
And so Neola did come
Oh,
and
okay.
present.
Okay.
You know, kind of some different changes from the previous time. And I don't want, I mean, obviously, any of the committee members can speak. I would say that my understanding was that at the time, and Neola is kind of known for having a little bit more lengthy and wordy policy. And so that probably represents one end of the spectrum. Les Albertson, which is now Miller Johnson, is probably on the other end of the spectrum, which is maybe not necessarily providing enough guidance. And so it's kind of that Goldilocks theory of Troon seems to be maybe just right, kind of in the middle of those two. So it was a good process, and I appreciate the Governance and Policy Committee meeting to review the different presentations. And then hopefully there'll be, you know, we'll have a much better understanding of the policy package once we go through this process. And it will also create an opportunity for potentially new board members to be able to review in detail every single policy versus, you know, just kind of in an ad hoc way.
Yeah, the timing is actually really good, so.
Yeah.
Well, and obviously we've lived with the other one for a while, so it's nice to, we're supposed to, I think, do reviews of our entire policy manual every 3 years, and that's a very difficult thing to kind of stay on top of. So I'm gonna assume that that's been dealt with too, so fantastic. Thank you to the committee.
To answer your question about Miller Johnson coming in, they were invited in, but they declined.
Oh, okay.
Because we are currently using them, and they felt that we knew what we needed to know about them based off of that.
Okay,
So,
fair enough.
so we did invite everybody in that we knew about.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, we shall call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Now we can get on to our information discussion section.
Absolutely. I'm going to ask Justin to come on up from McCarthy and Smith. So the bid package 10B is the additional card access system. This one is for exteriors, for our maintenance and transportation, ESB, and a couple other things. So I'll let Justin present, and then if you have any questions for him, he's here tonight.
Okay, so this package, it's actually for the interiors of the maintenance, transportation, ESB building, and soccer pavilion, the exterior doors of the soccer pavilion out there. It's just a continuation of the upgrades that we were talking about for the high school and ECEC. And to kind of extend on what you guys were talking about earlier, the package for the exterior doors was already approved, and that will be taking place this spring, the installation of that. So this is just a continuation on with the overall budget that we had already previously kind of ran through you guys to do the upgrade for the interior doors of these buildings and such. This is just the next in the series. So this just the upgrade of the card swipes and the exterior locks for the buildings, as well as the interior locks for some of the maintenance and transportation buildings throughout the district.
Any questions for? So we've already approved all the exterior doors?
Correct, yep.
In the entire district, or just those?
No, the exterior doors throughout the entire district, all schools in the district, we've already gone through and done the exterior. The packages that we're going through with the ECEC high school and these buildings is for the interior doors. Yep.
So is this just for the 166,830?
Correct. And it's just for these buildings that are on here, the maintenance, transportation, ESB,
That's what
and
I'm
soccer
asking.
pavilion.
No, it's the,
This is an amendment to the contract.
It's an amendment to the original contract that you guys.
What I'm trying to
approved,
figure
so,
out is,
correct.
and forgive me for needing to go back, but what did we just approve? 1.6 million?
1.6 for
Okay,
the.
I get it, so that's 1.6 that we just approved, that I would say we were gloating about it, but it was talked about, and then this is an additional 1.8?
Yes.
So basically, we're spending $4 million to improve our security within the schools.
This is,
No.
No,
No.
so
Okay.
go ahead.
So we have brought this out in series. So we had a budget that was previously presented to the board for $3.7 million. So as we're unveiling this, we've been unveiling this in packages. So we started this off with the Roar building, as
Right.
doing our base contract.
That's
Base
done.
contract, we went through, did the exterior, interior of the building. That was kind of the guinea pig, so to speak, for us to do a trial run, make sure that the bells and whistles on this is all coming together and working as the district wanted.
Justin, was that the 291,722 that's listed here?
Yes,
Okay.
so.
So
and then-
basically, all in, we're 3.7 million.
Yes.
I think that's cool. Okay.
All right.
That's your budget total, and then as these roll out, you'll have additional amendments like this.
Correct, so it'll probably get close to $4 million.
Correct.
Are you aware of any other districts in the state that have that robust of a security system?
This particular system is unique. This is a new system.
What makes it unique?
The hardware itself is, the system itself, I know, is used widely from what I've been told over in the European countries. It's just now starting to come over. Their technology over there has been a little bit more advanced, so this has been a little bit more widely used, is how it was explained to me. And so it's just now kind of coming down. So there's a whole monitoring system that Ben had talked about earlier, that will be centralized over in your maintenance department or facilities department, monitored 24/7. They can allow access over the phone. They can allow access by card. And all that is controlled over there through the head end unit that's over in your maintenance building on there. So it's just, it's
I get that. I
widely
guess I'm
controlled,
just trying to
heavily controlled.
get a sense from you or from our members, between the money that we've spent providing secure access to every building, and this roughly $4 million, I think that probably puts us in a good percentile of schools within the state that have.
Oh, I'm sure.
Not to mention, if I may, not
Yeah.
to mention a lot of investment that we've made in video cameras over the past few years as well. We've done a lot of upgrades. We've added some more cameras, probably looking at.
I know we don't talk about it much
Yeah,
because
we
for
don't.
security reasons, but I mean, I, from the homework I've done, I can't think of another district that's actually gone this far in taking safety measures on behalf of the kids.
Yeah.
This
That
is
makes
actually,
sense.
it's a unique one for me. It's the first for me in these districts, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
This will come out of our bond? right?
Yes.
So, I mean, this security, if we approve all of this, which we have, we will, basically is from the community. So I think it's great.
Any other questions? Seeing none, let's move on to Novi Meadows IT infrastructure change order.
All right, I will also turn this one over to Justin while he's up there to talk a little bit about this IT change order.
All right, so the IT change order, how this is explained is that during the bid process, there were some drawings that were left out of the contract drawings during the bid period time. Later on, when the contract documents were actually issued, it was later discovered while we were on site looking through the drawings that these drawings were not included in our bid pack that was presented at the time of bid by TMP. So once we had received these drawings by them through a bulletin, we had priced this out and the total had come to $162,907. This is for a riser system for your IT, fiber optic and IT wires that are run through underground into the various IT closets throughout the new Meadows building.
Okay, any questions? I'm just curious, was this a Design Prime project, or was this a, I don't believe it was. So I'm just curious as to how this was missed.
That's a good question. We can get the answer to that. The way it was explained to me is that at the time of the original drawings, they did have a misstep in terms of what they saw in the scope of the plan. And so when they do, they call it, site walkthroughs, and they do their site walkthroughs, they notice, okay, what we thought we were designing here, there might be a different lay of the land, or we may have to move this around. And that led to, obviously, them having to design something else. So that's when McCarthy issued the bulletin. So the change order amount was large enough that it exceeds really my jurisdiction and obviously comes to you as a board. So, but I can get additional information. So if you want to email me any questions this week, I will actually get with TMP and get those answers before the next board meeting for sure.
Okay. And you mentioned that it's exceeds your jurisdiction. When we entered into this bond, we set up spending levels, that anything above a certain level had come to the board, small changes and stuff like that, that we were going to entrust the superintendent to make. So just for transparency, that's, this one is big enough that it's going to come to the board. So. No other questions? Okay, that brings us to the highlight of the evening, the superintendent report.
Secure access, is there any consideration for metal detector or anything, or was it considered along with that?
Ready for the superintendent's report?
Yes, let's go on to the superintendent's
I will address some of that. So, first of all, fall sports is almost completely wrapped up. We do have volleyball playing tonight. We had some great runs in the state tournaments. And our marching band is going to states on Saturday at Ford Field, so wish them luck. They're an incredible band, and they're gonna be performing right on Ford Field. Want to also let you know, I've had the opportunity to be inducted actually today as a Rotarian here in Novi. I was a Rotarian in my previous district. I believe in the mission of the Rotary and what they do, and we're looking at how we can create more partnerships in our community with the Rotary and all of our service organizations. I also had the opportunity to join the Chamber Board, the Novi Chamber of Commerce, looking at how we can create business opportunities in the community for our students, particularly at our high school, to be able to have opportunities to move into internships and other opportunities within our local businesses. And the partnerships that we can create that way are gonna make us a stronger, not just school district, but community. I wanted to also state that I had the privilege today to have my first superintendent student advisory team meeting at Meadows. And I was interested because in my previous district, I did this with high school and middle school students, and they have no problem telling you the way it is. And the students at Meadows just blew me away. We were talking in a group, and basically it's an opportunity for them to lift their voice to me and let me know without having to go through somebody else, what's it like to be at Novi Meadows. And the counselors and the staff put together a really great group of kids that was a diverse cross-section of our student body, but also they weren't always the kids that are on student council, or they're not always the kids that are on the sports teams. This is a very diverse group of kids with interests, cultures, and everything else. And it was just interesting, the dynamic of the conversation you can get into with a 5th and 6th grader. And they were talking about specials and how, one of them said, well, I don't really like that we have to stay in our, elective for the entire 9 weeks, and I'd like to change it. And then one of them said, well, they're just trying to expose us to unique opportunities. And I'm sitting there just thinking, I don't have to say a word. I mean, they're blowing me away. So it's a really great thing, and it was a great opportunity for me to get to know some of our students, but also for them to share the good, the bad, and the ugly about what it's like waking up extra early and all of those other types of things. And so I'm excited about my middle school and high school groups that are going to be coming as well, and we'll talk more about how those are going to grow. I also wanted to alert the board as well as the community that on November 10th, I will be holding the first town hall meeting for the district. This is going to be a unique kind of opportunity. We hope to hold these some virtually and also some in person. And so the first town hall will be at 7:15. I sent out in my community newsletter the registration link. There's also a flyer on Peach Jar, but I will say that the intent is for us to give a little bit of an update. I will have some staff with me on the Zoom. And the intention is to obviously provide a little bit of an update about some happenings, and then also to allow the community members who choose to join to be able to ask questions directly to the panel. So I'm hoping that it's a positive experience. Also, there's in our policy requirement that the superintendent provide the board with a report of bullying and other behaviors. And so this is a report that we do every year, and as I say every year, I'm actually giving you data from 4 years ago. And the reason that that's happening is because through the last 3 years, this report has not been required. So this report was not completed by pretty much any district over the last 3 years. So you'll see a new report that mirrors this coming up in the next school year. So I will do this same type of report. This is called an OCR report. It's essentially looking at all sorts of data from our student information system. So they track, number of suspensions, the number of seclusions, the, incidents of bullying, incidents of different types of behaviors. And so this will just be a beginning, and we can take information from this report and also provide you with some different information. But I did want to get something in your hands, as I said that I would. But I will let you know this data is older. It's pre-pandemic data because of the fact that the reporting was not done over the past few years. But we will pick that back up and also move that to a future conversation. I want to also reference, I know one of the community members, Sherry, came up and talked about the gun safety and storage program, and I'm very interested in that, and I think that that's a very easy way for us as a board and as a district to encourage good habits as it relates to anyone who has a firearm. And I do agree with what was said. Those of us that are gun owners take zero offense to keeping our guns in those situations locked up and in secure areas. And I think that anyone that is reasonable when it comes to this space should understand that we need to do our part and do our best to make sure that no one has access to firearms that could cause harm to innocent people. I want to talk just for a second about school safety. It's pertinent in the last week. We've been through a lot. I think that's evidenced by some of the comments you heard tonight. I think it's also evidenced by the outpouring of emails. And I think it's important that we recognize that it's not trivial. We talked at our administrative staff meeting about the ripple effects. We had an administrator who has a child who actually attends Novi schools, and then also another child that attends in another district. And this person said that the child that attends in another district was crying and didn't want to go to school because they were worried about their sibling who was in Novi, right? And we have people in all different communities. We have kids in all different types of stages of life, and it is important that we recognize that this behavior cannot and will not be tolerated. We have acted very quickly, very strongly. We do have a person that we know was involved in this most recent one, and we will be treating that person with no leniency when it comes to threatening the safety of our students or our community. And it is unfortunate because there's a lot of situations and a lot of dynamics that are at play, and I want to talk about a couple of those things. First and foremost, I've had a lot of requests about what are our safety and security protocols, and I want to just help everybody understand that the very reason that we don't share openly our safety and security plans is because we need to ensure that those plans are protected. Therefore, anyone that would seek to do something nefarious doesn't know what our response is going to be and doesn't know how we're going to respond. So that's a really difficult balance when I'm talking to a mother on the phone about their safety of their child, and they're concerned about that. But I also have to be able to help that mom understand that while they're here, we're doing a lot, and I can talk about some things at a certain point, but I also have to be careful not to jeopardize the safety measures that we do have in place, because we do have a lot of plans. I want to say a couple things about things that we do, and I want to address some of the things that, I've heard this week about, what are we doing? Are we not doing enough? And I would tell you that we've invested not only millions of dollars in this district, but we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in training, and it remains our top priority. We contract with a person by the name of Jason Russell. Jason is a retired Special Forces military personnel. He worked in the Secret Service. He is the most highly respected security consultant for schools in the country. And we contract directly with him, and he has provided us a lot of guidance on a lot of these systems. You heard tonight we're investing $3.7 million in secure access systems that, we are living in a privileged community, and that's a wonderful thing that we have something that a lot of places unfortunately don't have yet, but maybe they will. Maybe they'll see what Novi is doing and be able to do those things. We've hardened our entrances. You'll notice at every single building we have secure vestibules. Coming with that, we're also looking at adding safety glass, which is a film that makes those entrances more secure by making the barrier tight and impenetrable. We're looking at additional safety officers and have invested in additional safety officers. We have the most research-based and proactive active shooter protocol in the country. It's called ALICE. The ALICE protocol, when we go into action, our staff knows what to do. I was in buildings this year in elementary schools where the teachers knew exactly what to do. They acted resolutely during the drills. They did a phenomenal job. We have many security cameras around the district. We have invested we're investing we're actually looking at a state grant and going to be one of the first schools in the state to implement a program called Zero Eyes, which is a gun detection software. We have additional processes and protocols in place to harden security. I will tell you, I get the question about metal detectors all the time. And I'm just gonna hit that one head on because we get that question a lot, and I think it's important so that the community isn't thinking that we're not thinking about those things, but to provide a perspective. It's certainly very controversial, but what I will say is that the security consultants and the research do not support implementing metal detectors. And it's for a variety of reasons. The first and foremost is that they've proven to be ineffective, and multiple school shootings have occurred with schools that have metal detectors. The reality of metal detectors is that they might provide a comfort for some, but somebody that is seeking to do harm is not walking through a metal detector with a gun. And the reality is we have to be more diligent and invest our money in ways that are a little bit more proactive. Our mental health supports have been absolutely placed into hyperdrive since I've started. I will say that this district has invested many millions of dollars in social workers and counselors and enhanced the counseling departments long before I ever came. So I will say that we have a tremendous ratio of counselors to students. We have many pieces to this puzzle that we need to get better at and improve on. So I'm not saying that we have it all figured out, but it's certainly a priority. We are looking at tremendous mental health supports for kids. We have a program called iWellness that we're actually looking at right now, and a comprehensive social emotional learning program that allows our students to understand stress, anxiety, and where they are at in their own temperament. Dr. Carino and I have been working on that, and we just met with Oakland Schools consultants about that this past week. The list is endless in terms of what we think about in this space of school security. While we're going to take a very hard line on people that make threats, and we're going to treat them accordingly, and we will have probably an announcement over the next couple days about that, we also are doing everything we can to make our schools the safest places that they can be. You will see Novi police officers regularly, even more regularly than you have in our buildings. I believe that schools are one of the safest places you can go. And the last thing that I'll say, and this is the hardest thing that I'll say, and I don't like saying this as a father of 4 kids. My kids were worried about me this week, right? Because I was in the buildings and all of those types of things. And I guess before I say the hard thing, I will say our staff is absolutely amazing. When we had shelter in place, which means that the kids stay put and they stay in their classrooms. The teachers were taking care of the kids, they were feeding the kids. I went into classrooms where there were substitutes because I had to talk to the kids. And the anxiety level dropped. The kids were fantastic. They were concerned, but they were doing such a great job. The police that came in to assist us, they had a tremendously strong plan. They set up a central command post. Nicole Carter and her team at the high school are absolutely incredible, as well as Rob Baker at the middle school. We basically came to descend to support, and they gave us jobs, and they had very clear instructions on what to do. They acted in the safety of the children, and they did a phenomenal job. And the hard thing that I'm going to say, and I'll finish with this, we live in a world that when you wake up and you get out of bed in the morning, it is a risk. And I would love to be able to stand up here or sit up here and say that as a father of 4 kids that I don't worry about my own kids. I do worry about my kids. And I choose to send them to a public school. And I believe that the public school that they attend is a great school and they take care of my kids. But I will say that there is not a 100% guarantee ever in life of 100% safety. We will look constantly and be diligent to do everything we can to make sure that our kids are the safest kids anywhere. And we will continue to invest millions of dollars in these things because it's the right thing to do. And safety is the priority. But we cannot make a 100% guarantee in any situation because you could go to the gas station tomorrow or Kroger or any other location and somebody could have ill intent. We hope and we trust that we will continue to be excellence in this area. We're going to get better. We have new things coming all the time. And we encourage our families and our parents to stay connected to us and continue to talk with us and work with us in this space. But I will also share, as I did at the beginning, some of the difficulty is the balance between sharing exactly what we do and the specifics of what we do and trying to also provide you with the assurance that we are certainly not sitting around and not doing anything with this space. So I do appreciate the community. I appreciate the board. It's been a stressful week, but we're a great community. It's a strong community. And we're hopefully moving on into more positive meetings and positive things. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mako. Brings us to our administrative reports. Dr. Greeno.
Thank you. I just really want to say thank you to the Novi High School and Novi Middle School staff and students, as well as the Novi Police Department's response over the past week. I was there at both the high school and the middle school and witnessed firsthand how they came together to make sure that our students were taken care of and protected. And so I really felt the need that it's important that they hear what a tremendous job they did. I also would like to say thank you to everyone who served on an interview committee. We hired a lot of people today, and there's a lot of behind-the-scenes things that go into bringing these people in front of you. And so I want to say thank you to, we had staff, we had parents who, all gave up their own time to be able to interview our many talented new hires, as well as Kathy Donovan, who has worked tirelessly over the past week to make sure we had fingerprints and connected with districts and all of the things that go into making sure that they have all the necessary paperwork to be hired. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Greeno.
I can do Mr. Geremini's report. It's really short, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
Okay, so Mr. Geremini is actually in Dallas, and the irony of this is that he is there for a virtual learning conference. So I'm not sure how that works, but it's interesting. So we gave him some grief about that, but he's learning and taking some of the great things that our virtual program is doing and sharing that. I will say that iReady reports that we presented at the last meeting, those teams are looking at that data and they're starting to work with our teachers. So we have win time academic 30, academic 60 that our teachers are working with right now, and they're trying to figure out how to make those interventions and accommodations for all of the subgroups of children that we serve. And next week there's some PD for our staff that has been laid out and will be put in place. So he will be able to provide a more updated report on that, but I did want you to know that he is still doing a great job and things are happening in that department. Thank you.
Virtual learning seminar being held in Detroit, and he's in Dallas?
Exactly.
Okay, this brings us to board communication. Does the board have anything they would like to say? Mrs. Murphy.
I would. Well, I got the opportunity. I have the Novi Virtual School is one of my schools. I have Novi Virtual and Orchard Hills this year. Lucky me, I got a bonus school. But Novi Virtual, I got to see the doors in action because Emily took me on Mrs. Plonsky took me on a tour, and she had to swipe into everything. Supply room, basically everything is locked. So she was kind of showing me how those worked. So it was definitely a big step up over, some of the past things. So, and anyways, the big plans over there. Got to pop into 2 classrooms, because you can do that virtually, and that was really cool to see. I saw a 6th grade class that was very excited to tell me about their star. I went to a small group with them. That was really cool, and they were very eager to all talk about what they were doing. And also got to go into a kindergarten classroom. So that was it was just great things are happening. Kids are really engaged, and being able to see them do things virtually and connecting with each other, like they were all feeding off other. I mean, it was like they were together, which was really amazing to see that they're able to make those connections. I know she had a trunk or treat for all of them. She's doing as many things as a group that she can to kind of create that better sense of community. So they did a big trunk or treat at the virtual school. I didn't make it over to that, but it sounded like it was a great success. And then I did spend some time at Orchard Hills as well. Got to do a little tour and got a song sung to me by some kindergartners.
In Mrs. Moore's class?
No.
Okay.
I did see her over there. I got to peek into her class too. She's got quite a diverse group of kids. I forget how many different languages are in her classroom, but a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
I think there's 6.
Yeah. So it was exciting. It's such a great thing to go and see our kids so engaged and our teachers excited about what their kids are learning as well. It witnessed some wind time in one of the classrooms too, seeing them do some of that. So yeah, it's always good to get in the schools and see what the kids are doing, and so that's kind of my report.
Thank you for getting there, because we have not been able to get into the schools
I know.
until recently. So.
Yeah.
Some people don't believe that we weren't allowed, even the board wasn't allowed in the schools. So. Any other comments? Board communication? Mrs. Hood?
Mrs. Murphy, aren't you going to Washington DC? Is that next week?
Oh, yes, I will be missing the meeting next week because I'm going to Washington DC.
As a chaperone.
With the 8th graders.
Right, and this is your, what year?
Farewell trip.
I think it's 9. I've got to go back and count my swag, but I think it's 9 years that I've gone. So if
right.
it's more than that, I'll let you know, but.
Well, thank you. You couldn't get me to sleep on a bus in Washington DC. You do it every year. Thank you.
You don't sleep on the bus.
Oh, okay. You
Just
used
so
to
you-
though, didn't you?
Yes, we used to sleep on the
Yeah.
bus, but they
You don't
changed that.
sleep.
I will actually tell you though, since they moved to this other schedule, I know at first there was a lot of around it, but the truth is, middle schoolers, when you get them late at night, they don't sleep. When you get them first thing in the morning, they actually do go to sleep. They're very quiet. So it's just the biorhythms and stuff. So anyways.
Okay, thanks. I was going to mention the high school marching band. In fact, tonight at 8, they were having a dress rehearsal for their program, All Alone Together. So Saturday, they'll be at Ford Field. Flight 1 bands, which is Novi, we will be the first section Saturday morning. So I'm sure the kids in the band will be reporting to school at like 4:45 or something crazy. And I think they perform 10:30-ish down
Before
at
that.
Ford Field. Pardon?
It's like at 8 they perform.
Well, that could be. Well, I think they're seated 5th or 6th, so there'll be a few bands in. Anyway, cash admission, it's $28 at Ford Field. If you're down there, go, it's wonderful. And then maybe on a more serious note, so I got an election-related mailer last week paid for by the Great Lakes Education Project, also known as GLEP. When I got that in the mail, it reminded me of an email that I sent to the Novi Board of Education in September of 2014, 8 years ago, when I used to sit in the audience all the time. And at that time, there were 3 Novi board members who were on record endorsing a Novi candidate for the Michigan House of Representatives, who was running to replace the term-limited predecessor. And what concerned me as a parent with children in Novi schools and as a advocate for public schools was this candidate had been endorsed and funded by the Great Lakes Education Project. So for the uninitiated, Great Lakes Education Project was started in 2001 by Dick and Betsy DeVos. And like most of their education-related things that they fund, GLEP's mission was and is to dismantle public education. And they do that by trying to expand charter schools in Michigan. They generally just undermine public schools and our teachers, and they fight for the privatization of public education, usually by pushing vouchers and overall defunding schools. So they started that in 2001. By 2012, Governor Snyder had signed bills lifting Michigan's cap on charter and cyber schools. And that was when he also signed the bill cutting public school budgets by $470 per student. I remember at the time, it was 2012, those were devastating cuts to Novi, huge cuts to Novi schools. So it seemed like some incredible heavy cognitive dissonance that trustees of an outstanding public school district like Novi, and we are trustees of a public asset. We are not representatives, and it's an important distinction to understand, that they would align themselves as trustees of a public board of education, that they would align themselves with a representative who was endorsed by a decidedly anti-public education organization. So I won't go into the responses I received from the board members, but I'll say that that representative was elected and went on to sponsor that horrendous third grade read or flunk bill that is still active. She sponsored that. And she voted for other anti-public education bills. And I have them here. I won't go into them. So I want to caution supporters of our public schools that when you are, and Novi's been ranked first again in Michigan this year, just came back around. Northville was first last year. We were second, now we're first again. But I want to caution you that when you're doing your homework on your voting choices on the ballot, pay attention to what candidates are being funded by what organizations. It's really important. And that's it, thank you.
Any other board communication? Seeing none?
Oh, just one comment, sorry, I was reading over
Trustee
my
Novi?
notes. I would really implore us to get into that Oxford light up, light up or whatever it is on November 30th. Hopefully we can come back with some information about that.
Yep.
I think it sounds like a very worthy, I mean, we all did the Oxford Strong stuff, so,
It could be great.
or was it Oxford Strong?
Mhm.
Is that what our shirt, okay, just
T-shirts.
checking.
Yep, yep.
I have a small memory, so.
Yeah, I like that idea too, Mary. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay, any other board communication? Seeing none?
Motion to adjourn? I support.
Moved by trustee Roney, supported by trustee Hood. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We are adjourned.